Hello, welcome. I hope you're doing good this morning. Well, might not be morning for you, but it is for me. Today we're going to be looking at some Am I the Butthole submissions. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, stick around and enjoy. Okay, so first up, am I the butthole for asking my boyfriend to quit his sport? I, 23F, have been with my boyfriend, 28M, for about 2 years. He has played rugby for the entirety of our relationship and started about a year before we met. Rugby is the third person in our relationship, so I asked him to stop playing. Was I wrong? Every Sunday is rugby day, where he wakes up, watches a game, plays a game with his team, and then watches another game after. Usually followed up by highlights reels on YouTube until he goes to bed. He has a 2-hour practice every Tuesday and Thursday. He coaches a high school team. He assistant coaches a college team. That's a lot. After every game, practice, scrimmage, etc., he comes home with some sort of injury or is just in general debilitated by pain, covered in bruises and cuts. He has been to the hospital for a separated shoulder, a split open eyebrow, a split open lip that went all the way through his muscle and fat. Ew! And the most recent was he got a bunch of turf beads in his eyelid. Ow! And was almost blinded, not exaggerating by it. Yeah, no, I could imagine that could definitely cause some damage. Our eyes are very delicate. That sounds horrible. Ugh. He will take off work for games and practices. He will cancel dates for games and practices. He will miss important events for games and practices. My family home caught on fire. We had a fundraiser. He tried to skip it for a game. The game got cancelled, so that's why he showed up. Wow. We were out to my birthday dinner and he asked if we could rush it so that he could make his practice afterwards. No! Oh my goodness. We can't go out and do anything on a rugby day. We can't have fun times on a rugby day. He can't function on a rugby day. And his excuse is, it's tough on rugby days. Well, his Saturday is a rugby day has turned into every day is a rugby day. Oh, I think I would be wanting to slap him over the head with the rugby ball, to be quite honest with you. This guy sounds a mixture of infuriating and exhausting. He gets stressed out financially because where we live is extremely expensive, but he has money for new cleats, new studs on his cleats when they break off, tape for his joints for games, team memorabilia. Basically, he has money for rugby like an addict has money for his fix. No, it genuinely does kind of sound like he's addicted to rugby. What on earth? I want to say I'm glad he has something he enjoys. I'm glad he coaches and that his students look up to him and that it makes him feel good about himself. We've both met some incredible people through the rugby community. But the phone calls at 1 a.m. that he's in the hospital due to injury, getting yelled at because he's broke, having to cater to him whenever he plays because he's sore, consoling him when he's bawling his eyes out because he lost a starting position, and having to eat, sleep, breathe rugby because he does, it was too much. Yeah, I think I'd been in just for that. I mean, I know obviously you must feel like, have a lot of feelings for this guy and everything, but he sounds like he'd put me in the funny bin. He really does. He freaked when I asked him to leave, told me I don't appreciate the things he cares about, said I should be thankful he has rugby or else he would be unalived, that he has nothing else. I feel horrible. Am I the butthole? Absolutely not. He sounds just infuriating to deal with. It's fine to have a hobby. It's fine to have something you enjoy. But when you're literally giving up, or were going to, if it wasn't for the game being cancelled, giving up going to your partner's fundraiser because their family home broke down, my guy, you need to give your head a hell of a wobble. Get your flaming big boy pants on and realise that rugby is not life. You need to live a proper life as well as your hobbies. He has no balance. He needs to find balance. And I would be telling him that I am not going to be the one to help him find that balance. So I'm glad you binned him off, really. I really am, because he just sounds absolutely exhausting to deal with. Okay, so this was actually added at the start of the post, but I've put it on the end because obviously it was a bit of a spoiler, so I'll add it now. But it was a bit of just a little tiny update, nothing major. Update: are people not seeing where I asked him to stop playing? He can coach, mentor, watch, etc. That is okay. It's the overwhelming amount of injuries, money spent, and the screaming at me that I'm the reason he's broke that made me ask him to stop playing. Yeah, no, okay, so first of all, I'm also realising what she meant by I asked him to leave is she asked him to leave the team, which is annoying. I wish you'd have asked him to leave in general, but there we are. Different strokes for different folks. I'll say it again. But yeah, no, I don't think it's over the top asking him to leave. To be honest with you, with the fact that he's so obsessive about the games outside of it as well, just as a viewer, I don't think I could even deal with that. But again, not my monkeys, not my circus. This guy sounds just not quite all there, does he? Like, he has no balance. He's living in La La Land, thinking that you can just hobbies are everything and everything else can take a back seat, where that's not how that works, my dear. Next up, would I be the butthole for reporting a guy living rent-free in my shared apartment to my landlord? I, 23F, live in a shared apartment with 9 others, making it a 10-person household. About a month ago, one of my housemates had a friend, 27M, come over for what was supposed to be a 2-day visit. But he's still here. From what I can tell, he's not paying rent and all the bedrooms are already occupied, so he sleeps in the room with his friend. Are we sure they're just friends? I mean, I know friends can share a room and that's fine and we shouldn't make assumptions, but if he's come and then never left, maybe they have a little bit of something going on. I've spoken to the friend, the one who lives here, and he says this guy doesn't plan to stay long term, but he's not sure when he'll actually leave. For now, he's staying indefinitely. His presence has become really disruptive. Most of us either work or go to university and need to get ready in the mornings, but he's usually up at 5 or 6 a.m. Couldn't be me. Absolutely not. And he tends to spend a lot of time in the bathroom. The problem is that he often leaves it dirty and smelly, which makes it unpleasant for the next person to use. On top of that, he's often up at 4 a.m. playing loud music or having long calls with his family in India, and this noise wakes some of us up. Yeah, no, you can't be doing that. Not when you share a place. Like, listen to music late if you want, but wear bloody headphones. When he's in the kitchen, he's usually using the TV, so I can't watch anything while cooking. Oh yeah, if he's getting in the way, this isn't good. Our landlord has a rule against room sharing, so technically, his staying here long term isn't even allowed. Would I be the butthole for reporting this to the landlord? Additional issue, he's taken one of the kitchen cabinets for his stuff, even though he doesn't pay rent. We all assumed 2 cabinets per person was fair, but now he's using one. He also uses the hand wash and the kitchen towels we bought, doesn't take out trash, and never cleans. Yeah, no, you wouldn't be the butthole. At the end of the day, if he was staying, he was keeping a low profile, not disrupting the house, not using things without replacing them. If he was paying a little bit towards the expenses of him being there and he was making no hassle of himself, cleaning up after himself and being a good boy, then it wouldn't be a problem, would it? But the fact that he's being just disruptive and loud, using up things that aren't his and not replacing them, leaving mess everywhere. No, I don't think you'd be the butthole, and I would absolutely agree that you should do it because this is not fair on the rest of you. I mean, I understand that maybe he's got something going on that means that he needs somewhere to stay right now, but if you need somewhere so desperately to stay, then have some common sense. Make sure that you're not being a nuisance so that you don't then get the boot from there too. Am I the butthole for telling my father-in-law that he's a shite father? So I, 27F, knew my husband Rowan, 29M, for a while before we even dated. We grew up in the same town and we were good friends through school. So I met a lot of his family, etc. when I was a kid. We lost contact for uni but then kind of talked again after and have evidently dated and got married. When I was a kid, I always kind of thought that Rowan's dad was weird. I obviously didn't have much context for it then, but I always thought it. His mum passed away when Rowan was young, and he has one older brother, 40M, but obviously the age gap meant that they weren't very close for much of his childhood. I know that when Rowan was a teen, he acted out and drank a lot with his friends, got into fights, didn't have good grades. I don't doubt that he was a difficult kid to raise, but I always thought that he was a good person, and I still do. When we started dating, he told me about the reasons behind him acting out, that his father was always drinking or out and that he constantly told Rowan that he wasn't good enough, that he was a shite son, etc., etc. Accused him of sneaking out unprotected you-know-whats and you-know-what, constantly tore apart his room looking for incriminating things. Rowan's changed a lot now and is genuinely a down-to-earth guy that would help anyone that asked. Him and his father don't really speak anymore. This was mainly due to a huge argument they had when Rowan was 18, and his dad said that his mum would be really disappointed in him if she was still alive, that he was never going to amount to anything. Rowan told me that after that, he packed his bags, stayed with a friend for a while, and hasn't particularly spoken to his dad ever again. Rowan and I went back to his hometown this weekend to see my parents, and me and my mum went out to the bar for a catch-up. I immediately recognised his dad because he has a bunch of tattoos of random things on his neck and whatnot that I remember looking at as a kid, and he was standing next to me at the bar. We made eye contact and he looked surprised and said something to the effect of, "I heard you and Rowan got married. I'm surprised. He's always been a skirt chaser. Thank God he doesn't speak to me anymore." What a piece of work. Oh my goodness. How you didn't throw your drink on him, I don't know. Like, that's what you choose to open with when there's a possibility that you might be able to meet up with your son after so many years? Like, what? I repeated the sentiment that I was glad they didn't speak anymore, but added that it was because he'd been a shite father. He got very defensive, saying that Rowan had been difficult to raise and whatnot, and I just turned around and left to go and sit back down with my mum. I kind of pity him, but I wish I'd just not even spoken to him and left it. Am I the butthole? No, because it wasn't you that even said anything in the first place. I bet any money, if he hadn't spoken to you, you would have probably just not spoken to him, because what's the point? It's not worth it. But the first thing he says to you, knowing that you married his son and he's not seen his son in years, is, "Oh, I'm surprised you got married," and basically just completely crapping all over his son. Like, what? No. Horrible, horrible man. Am I the butthole for not answering my co-workers' phone calls on a weekend? They usually last for 45 to 70 minutes for no reason. My colleague, who I explicitly explained to them that I don't like to talk over the phone and I'm more comfortable using text, got angry because I refused to talk to them over the phone about literally nothing on the weekend. There's nothing at work that needs or requires us to have this call. I wanted to set boundaries, so I told them I'm not going to answer my phone outside of work hours, and if they need anything, then just text. But they got very upset and kinda disappointed in me. I don't want to cause them any harm or bad feelings, but at the same time, I feel like I shouldn't have to go above and beyond just to make them happy. Honestly, I'm having conflicted feelings. What do you think I should do? I think you should stick to your guns. Don't let them bully you into talking work or just not work at all, nonsense outside of work. They could be kind of lonely. Yeah, they could be kind of lonely. It might be that they're just looking for a little bit of companionship over they actually need to talk to you about anything, because clearly you said there's not anything that they desperately need to talk to you work-wise. So yeah, maybe just say to them, look, if you want to chat, you can text me, but I don't do phone calls. I'm not talking work outside of work times. I'm not getting paid for it. So if you want me, you can text me. You're more than welcome to, but please don't call me because I really don't like it. And just stick to your guns, because yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's so silly. They don't need to. Am I the butthole for telling somebody I'm not being stalked and she had a bad dream? It's quite a crazy title, but sometimes when you wake up from a bad dream and it feels so real, or even a good dream, it throws you through a loop, doesn't it? And it's like, oh, I've got all these feelings still, but I know it was just a dream. So I can, just off the starting title there alone, I can kind of get it, kind of. I, 19F, have 4 roommates, the same age as me. On Sunday at 10 p.m, the person I share a room with, Sophia, asked if I was doing okay. I told her I was fine and asked why she was asking. Sophia said she heard me on the phone at 4 a.m. that day saying I was being stalked. I assured her I wasn't being stalked and maybe she'd had a bad dream. I even checked my phone to make sure I hadn't made any calls in my sleep. I don't sleep talk or have unusual behaviours. I used to have an ex that sleep talked, and he taught me how to make a bacon sandwich in his sleep. Like, he gave me the full instructions. By the way, the instructions were wrong. I suggested she might have heard an audio from TikTok about someone being stalked. After that, we went to bed. Background: on Sunday afternoon, before Sophia asked me if I was okay, I texted her about opening the blinds in our bedroom and asked if anyone could see in. We live on the 3rd floor. On Monday night, I came in late and was mumbling to myself about the mess in the apartment. My roommates hadn't cleaned the stove and the dishes had piled up. I sometimes mumble when I'm stressed. I am unsure about how those are related at all to the matter in hand, but we'll continue. The situation. On Wednesday, the resident director came to check on me after receiving a report that I wasn't doing well. I was confused, so I explained to him that Sophia had asked me about being stalked and that I wasn't. I also mentioned this to another roommate, Leah. Later, I got an email saying the RD was coming over to discuss our roommate agreement, which I thought was going to be about cleanliness, so I was relieved. When the meeting began, Leah and the others shared that they wanted the apartment to feel like a safe space for open communication. Then Sophia said she heard me on the phone with the police saying I was being stalked. She also brought up the text I sent about the blinds and mentioned seeing me mumbling to myself. She said she was concerned for me. Okay, now I get why those were related. Sophia is definitely doing the most, isn't she? But I feel like her heart's in the right place. Here's where Sophia thinks I'm the butthole. I apologised for causing concern, but I explained again that I wasn't stalked. I showed everyone my phone to prove I didn't make any phone calls. Sophia said that wasn't fair. How would I feel if I saw something and the other person dismissed it as a dream? She insisted I must have called someone on another platform, dismissing my proof. Some people think Sophia may have an auditory hallucination. Some think she had a bad dream, and some think she's lying to get me in trouble. Sophia thinks that I'm the butthole for saying it was just a dream, while I feel frustrated that I'm being accused of something I didn't do. Absolutely, and at the end of the day, if you're the one who apparently is being stalked, and you're saying, I am not being stalked, and she says that you reported it to the police, so she says she heard you on the phone, reporting it to the police or reporting it to someone, but now all of a sudden you're denying that you're being stalked. So why would you make a report and then say no, I'm not being stalked? It makes no sense. And those auditory hallucinations when you're falling asleep are so real. I get them all the time. I get them quite often that I'll think that my kid has come in and spoken to me and they're not there. There's no one there, and I'll sort of jerk awake and look around and there's nobody there. Or I'll get the ones where, you feel like you've all of a sudden been dropped off a building. Those ones suck. That's not an auditory hallucination, though. That's literally just my body goes, ah! It sucks. But those are really real. Like, sometimes it can sound like a full half sentence. Like, it sounds like, to me, quite often it's like, mummy, I need. And then I look and I'm like, oh, there's nobody there. Either that or I have a ghost. And I would welcome a house ghost. How fun would that be to have a house ghost? Anyway, we're going off topic completely here. Yeah, Sophia needs to kind of really think logically about this. If she says she heard you reporting it to police or reporting it to someone, you wouldn't then all of a sudden now go, no, I'm not telling anyone. At the end of the day, if it's you who she thinks is being stalked and you're saying, I'm not being stalked, she needs to just take that on the chin and go, okay, I was obviously wrong. Because that's your problem and not hers. I would perhaps, though, try and approach it in the way of saying to her, look, I'm so grateful that you care this much about me, that you've gone to these lengths to make sure I'm okay. But honestly, I promise you I'm okay. I'm not being stalked. You must have dreamt it. If I was, I would tell you. If I was and you'd heard me reporting it, don't you think I'd tell you? Don't you think I'd tell this, what was this, the RD? Don't you think I'd tell him too? Or, just try and be really gentle with her, because obviously she's really put her neck out thinking that she's helping you because she genuinely thought that this has happened and clearly she cares about you. But obviously it didn't happen. So yeah, I'd just be really gentle with her and be like, look, I'm so appreciative that you care so much, but genuinely I am fine, and I promise if I'm ever not fine, I will be the first to come and tell you. Okay, so I think for now that will be all for today. If you've listened through to the end, thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed the stories or the little posts that we read today. I would be really grateful to hear your thoughts on them if you want to leave any in the comments. It's always very interesting to see if people think differently. I would love to see your opinions on them. So on that note, if you want to leave a little like and a subscribe, that would really help me in the algorithms, and it would also help you find your way back here because I'm going to be posting every single day. So other than that, I hope you have a really good rest of your day, and thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.